Just got back from a landing currency sim at work where we practice, among other things, a engine failure on takeoff and a single engine landing. It's more than just getting 3 landings in the sim. It's like a little miniature check ride. It's what we train for. And on Wednesday, the 25th of June, a Airbus A321 American Airlines Flight 1665 suffered a series of compressor stalls while on takeoff out of Las Vegas. Did a left closed pattern, came back around and landed on the one remaining good engine in about 8 minutes time. That's how you do it. That's what we train for. Let's check it out. My name's Juan Brown. You're watching the BLANCOLIRIO channel. And this video is brought to you by And this video is brought to you by viewers like you that sponsor this channel here on Patreon. Thank you for your support, so I don't have to put out funny looking thumbnails in order to tantalize the algorithms. A compressor stall is a disruption of airflow through the compressor section of the engine and can be caused by any number of things, including engine degradation or sucking down a bird or hitting a drone, or a malfunction of the bleed system, or a malfunction with the fuel control system. Some sort of disturbance is causing this backfiring of the engine. And this is what it typically looks or sounds like, a series of loud bangs. That's why I call it backfiring. And you'll lose some thrust and get some adverse yaw out of that, as well as you may see unusual parameters in your N1, N2, or EGT and vibrations. The Airbus A321 series of aircraft is powered by the CFM 56 series of engines, and these engines have a FADEC like most modern engines these days, the full authority digital electronic control of the fuel system of the aircraft, of the entire control of the engine of the aircraft. And this FADEC normally limits or prevents compressor stalls, but sometimes it can't. And when it does detect a compressor stall, it'll send a message to the ECAM, or the Electronic Centralized Aircraft Monitoring System, and alert the crew of an engine compressor stall. Now, this ECAM is something that still is not available yet on the Boeing 737 MAX, and is a big bone of contention with the FAA and NTSB and everybody else. But this ECAM will give the crew the exact checklist that they need to run, and then will eventually tell them the status of the aircraft after they run the checklist. Regardless, the procedure for an engine stall remains the same. You retard the throttle until the engine no longer surges or bangs, and if you can maintain that throttle setting or thrust lever setting, whatever language you want to use, you can continue to run the engine at that reduced power setting. If the engine continues to give you troubles, you just shut it down. Do your single engine procedures. Here's an example of what that ECAM looks like in the Airbus. Now, this is for some other electrical emergency configuration, but it gives you the steps that you need to do right here. And then when you complete the checklist, we'll give you a status of the aircraft. So it'll tell you the limitations, the approach procedure you need to use, or the way you need to configure the aircraft for this particular approach procedure, the procedures to apply for landing, various information here shown in green, and then a list of the inoperative systems, a modern ECAM system not found on the 737 MAX. So some pretty good video of the actual event has shown up on social media here on Facebook, and it's got some pretty good audio to give you an idea of what compressor stalls actually sound like. Inside the aircraft and from outside the aircraft. This is right on the initial takeoff, a little bit of startle factor. On behalf of the crew, and eventually they get the gear up. There it goes. As they continue the left closed pattern to come back around for landing. This flight departed on Las Vegas's runway 1 right, 9,771 feet of runway, and they did the left closed pattern, came back around and landed on runway 1 left just 8 minutes later. Remember, each of these takeoffs are designed with these modern airliner aircraft such that they can lose an engine at the worst possible moment, V1 rotate, and continue the takeoff and climb out and come back around and land on the remaining one good engine. Now, this engine was still producing thrust, but it was compressor stalling so bad that the tower even noticed the flashes out of the back of the aircraft. If we take a closer look at the Las Vegas airport at an elevation of 2,181 feet, it is surrounded by higher terrain in nearly all quadrants. And this crew climbed to an altitude of just 4,000 feet, keeping it in this bowl of Las Vegas. Here's what the preliminary ADS-B data looks like on Flight Radar 24. Looks like they took off at 11 after the hour. That was 8 a.m. local time. And was back on final at 19 after the hour. So a left closed pattern to the downwind just right at 4,000 feet. And you can see the surrounding higher terrain that they needed to stay within. ATC did offer them the ability to either climb higher or circle if they needed to continue to run their checklists, but they were able to run through their checklists in a timely fashion right on the downwind, come back and configure for the single engine approach and landing with just the one pattern. If we download this KML data and put it into Google Earth, you can take a good look at the overall circuit. And it's very common on these procedures to go ahead and turn the autopilot on, even with just one engine, to help you manage the situation. And it allows the crew members to both open up their minds and their books and their checklists and get through the procedures quickly and efficiently without having to hand fly the aircraft around. And then once you come in for your actual single engine approach and landing, you can kick the autopilot off and land uneventfully. So nice stabilized final approach into one left there, and there you can get an idea of the surrounding higher terrain. The crew could have certainly on one engine climbed higher if they needed to, but they didn't need to. They just were able to come right back in and land uneventfully. Some of the most important ATC communications in this emergency involve the ARF, or Air Rescue Firefighting crews.
Clear to visual 1 left, American 1665. Hey, while we're at it, we're going to go ahead and request ARF for our runway, please.
I've already got them on the runway. They're holding short of the runway, but they'll be ready for you when you land.
So the tower was proactive, calling the ARF out as soon as he saw those compressor stalls coming out of the right engine of this aircraft, and the crew requested it as well. But check this out after they land, especially in light of the recent Denver deal where we had that engine fire at the gate. And in their defense, the crew of the Denver high vibration deal never got an engine fire situation like these guys did, so they didn't know that just how badly damaged that particular engine was in that particular case.
And we're going to go ahead and stop here straight ahead.
No problem, sir. ARF units are on this frequency. Can you let them know what you need?
Will do.
So now they're going to talk to the ARF crew.
Hey, ARF, American 1665, our right engine. I'm taking a look at it there, making sure, there's no fire or anything like that. Be grateful.
Las Vegas Tower, Red Dot 4, copy, requesting permission to enter at November.
Red Dog 40, an appropriately named ARFF crew, is going to come up and check out the right engine before the crew vacates the runway. Make sure everything's under control with that right engine as far as the fire goes.
40 company, proceed 1 left.
Red Dot 40, copy, proceeding 1 left at November.
Red Dog 40, you can talk on this frequency of the emergency aircraft if you like.
40 copy.
Keep it simple, stay on the one frequency.
Red Dog 40, if it appears that there's no impending emergency right now or fire, can we have you guys switch to 12697? We're going to try and get some departures out off of 1 right.
Yeah, absolutely. We're headed there now, 2697.
Okay, 2697. Thanks, American and Red Dog 40. That aircraft's going over to 2697. You guys can utilize that frequency at your discretion and talk with the emergency aircraft there.
40 copy, 6.
So they switch frequencies to allow tower to continue to operate the rest of the airport.
American 1665, Red Dot 40.
Yeah, we're here. How's it going?
Hey, what I'm seeing right now, there's no fire, no smoke visible from that number 2 engine.
And this next call is a great call on behalf of this crew.
All right, so the number 2 looks good to you guys?
That's affirmative. Number 2 looks good.
All right, if you guys wouldn't mind, we're going to go ahead back to the gate if somebody would just follow us. We'd appreciate it.
Right on 40 copies. We'll follow your partner.
All right.
So they're going to go back to the gate uneventfully, but they're going to have the ARF crew follow them just in case something crops up with that engine like we saw back in Denver. Good job by the crew. That's the way you do it. That's what we train for every day. Thank you so much for your support of this channel, especially the folks over on Patreon that make this content possible. See you here.